Well, there's been incredible excitement in India and indeed around the world on India's cosmic ambitions. Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla now back on Earth.
Yes,
but
very much so.
the entire process of going up and coming down, that's sort of got a lot of people interested in India's spacefaring intentions, our ambitions, and of course the big next step is going to be the Gaganyatri program. There's a lot of work that's already gone into Gaganyatri,
And plenty needs to go, and we need to have fresh astronauts. And the fresh astronauts will come from India.
Right. And what is the reason why we are here at about 6:30 in the morning?
We are here for the golden hour to celebrate a golden moment in history with the Ministry of Defence and the Prime Minister's office behind us.
But we've got a bigger reason.
And we want to speak to one of the
first Indian Air Force Space Medical Specialist, Air Vice Marshal
Dr. Anupam Agarwal. Why don't you
Air
introduce
Vice Marshal,
him?
it's wonderful to have you, and you've had an instrumental role in picking, the small selection, the small cohort of Indian Air Force officers, one of whom has already been to space, and perhaps the others will get an opportunity as well.
Sure.
But your first reactions and thoughts on Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, the fact that you were part of the team that picked him, what does it feel like to have him go and come back?
What do you think? Excellent. I mean, nothing could be better. What could be better?
Tell us about Shukla and how did the Indian Air Force pick up a select, sir?
That's like you're asking me to condense the universe into a small dot.
Well, you're very capable of that, Doc.
Come, sir, let's
But
walk.
no, it was incredible. It was. I was talking to my team, and I think we as a team are the luckiest people on earth. If you look at it, with 1/6 of the world's population in India, if you select 4 people, they are likely to be one of the 24 best in the world.
Right.
And we got to sort of interact with the best test pilots, the best fighter pilots in the country for this selection. So where do you get to meet such a huge bunch of such talented people? And we were lucky to do it. We couldn't have asked for anything better.
Dr. Anupam, you headed the Institute of Aerospace Medicine, our jewel, a hidden jewel for the Indian Air Force in India, when you selected these 4 astronaut designates. And now there are 3 astronaut designates and 1 astronaut. What did you find, and what is special about Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, our Gaganyatri, who completed this mission?
What is special about him? Everything is special about him. But
Come, sir.
by and large, if you would want to think in sort of break it down, one, he's incredibly intelligent. I can't disclose his intelligence scores, but he is incredibly intelligent. He's in the right on top there. And you've spoken to him, we've all spoken to him. He is so bright, he is yet so funny, he is so serious, and he is a person who can look at the best in a bad situation. And that, in an astronaut, is the best thing you can have.
No, but adaptability, which is what
Yes.
you were alluding to, is a key quality that you want of all our Gaganyatris, all our astronauts. Why is that important?
Well, when you're in space, it is the toughest endeavor that humankind undertakes. Anything can go wrong at any point in time. And you want a person who would be able to play it on the go. And that is a quality, yes, which you said is very important for a person who's going to be put into that situation. Because if he's being put into that situation, he needs to be able to do it.
Right. And just in terms of selecting not just Shuks but the others as well, there would have been a lot of disappointed people also who didn't make the cut, and obviously this group of very satisfied Indian Air Force pilots. What were some of the criteria the Indian Air Force was looking at?
I spoke to my team and I said, what is it that you would want in an astronaut? And one consensus was that when you, let's say, talk to Rakesh Sharma or Ravish Malhotra, both of them, when you talk to them, the first thing is that within the first 2, 3, 4 minutes, you feel like this is the guy. So this is the guy moment is what we wanted from all the people that we got. Disappointed the others were, I would say yes, anybody would be. But it is just this, that if you have to select only so many, some people who are equally good will just not be there. So
It's like being selected into the Indian cricket team, perhaps even tougher.
Much more tougher.
much tougher.
But how different is it in selection for medical criteria between a test fighter pilot and an astronaut? And how difficult is it? Do other countries share details with you? How do they choose their own astronauts? Say Russia, America, or China?
No, so some physical standards we did get from the Russians, I won't deny that. But physiological standards, medical standards and psychological standards, nobody shares. Nobody shares. I mean, when an American astronaut flies on the Soyuz or a Russian cosmonaut flies on the SpaceX, they still don't share it between the Roscosmos and the NASA. It is that secret between them. It is that
Vice
secret.
Marshal, we are in terms of technology and engineering looking at an Indian capsule, ensured that habitation systems are built in India for an Indian astronaut. So the entire Gaganyatri program is obviously merging Indian technology, testing with Indian astronauts who will be using that for the very first time.
Yes.
Could you tell us the overall challenge of Gaganyatri? I mean, people don't seem to understand that it's not an ordinary mission, particularly if you're building ground up.
The best way to make people understand is that there are only 3 countries in the world who have managed it, launching a person from their own soil. So Russia, then the US, and then China. And there are so many, and it's better not to speak about who's not been able to do it, but some of the best nations in the world have not managed to do it. They've run space programs for 6 years, 7 years, and have given it up. So that tells you how tough it is. But to give you an idea as to why it is tough, if let's say there's an emergency in air in an aeroplane, which is in itself very difficult, you can come back and land. But if you're flying at 28,000 kilometers an hour and you have an emergency, the earliest you can land is after a couple of hours.
Right.
And how do you do it? So when you put a human inside, when you put a satellite inside, there is a lot of work which goes in because it's just so expensive. But when you put a human inside, the degree of difficulty doesn't increase, it increases exponentially.
Right.
And that is what makes it so tough. So, the rocket designer, he doesn't like human beings.
Right.
because if you put a satellite or if you put an engineering thing inside a spacecraft, you will know exactly how it is going to behave. A human being would have a mood. he would have a heart which will just decide to beat differently on that day.
Yeah.
He will have lungs which will just decide on a whim to breathe differently. So when you're designing for a human, have to cater for a very, very vast difference in everything.
Right.
And if you now put it as 2 humans,
Yeah.
you've gone into like exponentially a square of that.
Yeah.
You put in 3 humans, you've gone into a cube of that.
Yeah.
So it's just so variable, which is why it is so difficult.
Air Vice Marshal, you chose astronauts. You did it in 2019. The first person to fly is 6 years later. He still has at least a 20-year career. Did you have to weigh in your mind the medical fitness of what he would be 10 years hence and also the mental fitness? Because mental fitness, I'm told, is sometimes more important.
That is the crux, that is the nub. So you're asking me what is the difference between a fighter pilot and an astronaut? One, the astronaut training is just so expensive. I mean, the entire media is abuzz with the cost of Shuks's mission.
Yeah, over 500 crores we have spent.
So you don't want to train a person to only find out that his heart is not behaving so well after 10 years.
Right.
So when you're selecting him today, we selected him, like you said, in 2019, you're looking at about 20 years ahead or more. And the best cardiologist in this world finds it difficult to do so.
Right.
And when you're making a core of people, to do it for each one of them is that much more difficult. As far as mental fitness is concerned, yes, you're right. If you ask me, I would say a mentally fit person is more important than a physically fit person, you for once can say, okay, we want to be inclusive, so we may sort of send a diabetic into space. But if you ask me, would you be willing to send a neurotic into space? I will say no. Because of the thing which we discussed earlier, that if there is a difficult situation, you want a person who would just go ahead and deal with it and would do it in his stride. That is the most difficult thing.
Vice Marshal, we spoke about Shuks, but we have 3 more astronaut designates. Can we one by one talk about each of them and what is special about each one of them? I know they are in one way equal among equals.
Yes, they are. So,
let's start with Prashant Balakrishnan Nair. He was the backup astronaut.
yes.
And also the senior most,
Yes,
right,
he
in
is.
terms
He is
of
the
age
senior most
and
in
rank
age,
and
yes.
yeah.
So Papa, as he's called.
Yeah.
He's called Papa.
He's called
I
Papa.
didn't know that.
He's always, I mean, even when he was a youngster, he
That's
was
his call
Papa.
sign also, was
Yes.
it?
That's his call sign.
So we were together way back in 2012 or something together. We've served together for a longish time. So Papa is, I mean, all of them are just brilliant, intelligent, very good with their work. It's a given. So then the small thing which differentiates them, Papa is very heavily into yoga. He's very heavily into spirituality. So he can sort of look at the same situation in a different, from a different perspective. That, if you want one defining characteristic, would do Papa. If you look at Krish,
Ajit.
Ajit Krishnan, so Krish is, I think, out of the groups that I have met in my life, one of the best speakers you will come across. To quote an incident, he was in an exam, in a viva, and he sort of got 100 out of 100 in his viva by 5 examiners. All five gave him 100. That means.
Wow.
And they said, we will change our teaching methods to teach this particular thing that you've explained to us in the fashion that you've explained it to us.
Wow.
So that if you can look at a person being incredible in speaking, so Krish, that defines Krish. Angad, I'm told, has been running a 100-kilometer marathon almost every few months.
So physically extremely resilient.
Very resilient, all of them are. Angad can also see a different side of everything. So the same situation, everybody would look at it this way. Angad can see a different side of it, which is very important. Lateral thinking, or whatever you want to call it, is very important, especially when you're dealing with novel, unprecedented situations. So all of them are individually brilliant.
But that strikes me as being really interesting, that when you're looking at the qualities of our astronauts, our Gaganyatris, you aren't necessarily looking for A, B or C. There are obviously some baseline parameters, but beyond that, you're willing to look at individuality, individual skills. Some like yoga, some are marathoners, some have lateral thinking, perhaps more than the others. So the entire cohort gives you options. Isn't that what the exercise was about?
Yes. We didn't actively look for options, but like you said, we are willing.
Emerged.
Yes, it's emerged, and we are willing to have, within a broad parameter, have differences, because like you said, that is what makes the team the team.
Sure.
Vice Marshal, what are the facilities like at the Institute of Aerospace Medicine?
I'm surprised you asked. You've seen it?
I have seen it. Yes,
I haven't.
that
I
is
must.
true.
You must.
Yes, I will.
Yes,
You
that is
must.
true. And you also put me onto the centrifuge
Yes.
there. And
You can send him to space as well. We may not miss him very much, but
so are we state of the art in the world?
Yes, we are. The centrifuge, since you mentioned it, there are about 5 or 6 centrifuges across the world of the standard that is there in India, and that is where we stand. So one of the 5 in the world. Again, one mustn't mention countries, but they're very, very advanced, very strong economies, let's say in Europe, which don't have a centrifuge of that class.
Air Vice Marshal, what strikes me, and again, this is something that people don't talk about, they look at our cohort of Gaganyatris thinking, okay, they'll get onto the mission. But what Pallav keeps stressing, and I think this is an important point, is that this is just the start. We aren't beginning and ending with Gaganyaan. In fact, it's the start of an entire process. It's a process which presumably in the future would have women. It would presumably have civilians as well. It would have people of different walks of life. They don't even necessarily have to be scientists and engineers. That this is an expansion of our thinking of what we as a country want to do in space. Would you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, we will very soon perhaps be choosing women, because women, I mean, ISRO has been very particular that we need to be inclusive, and the government of India has been very particular that we need to be inclusive. So, if nobody can look into the future, but if I would dare to, we should have women soon.
And that humanoid is a woman, right? I mean,
That it is, yes.
So we are likely to have women joining the astronaut corps soon as ISRO opens it up.
Is what I have been told, yes.
Air Vice Marshal, things will start getting fairly intense now. There is a clock. As much as we can take our time to ensure we get it right, there is a clock, and we want to get this mission going. There'd be pad abort tests, there would be some other missions. Could you describe for our viewers how things will now progressively move faster, right up till the moment when we launch? More tense, more challenges, more successes, potentially more failures. Failures are not necessarily long term. It's sort of a build-up, isn't it?
So, as a build-up, what ISRO is generally planning is that they would have what they are calling the G1 mission, which would be an analog mission which would largely test the rocket.
Right.
That would be followed by the G2 and G3 missions, which would be exactly the same as the final H1 mission, the human
Which is the human mission.
So, in the G2 and G3, we would be testing all the systems that will be placed on the rocket. And the timelines of the G1 mission are supposed to be the end of next year or before that. And the G2, G3 and H1 missions would sort of flow from the success of the G1 mission.
And ultimately, this is about not just Gaganyaan and getting Indians in space, but possibly into an Indian space station.
Yes,
and then possibly to the moon as well. I mean, those are our immediate targets.
Those are the two things
incredibly ambitious,
which the Prime Minister has announced: the Bharatiya Antariksh Station as well as the man on the moon.
And so you're satisfied, man?
I am very.
So there would be an extensive debrief, obviously, of his entire experience.
Yes.
The answer, I must ask you, since you are a doctor, getting to space means encountering a certain, space illness. Coming back means adjusting to gravity. That's not necessarily an easy process. And unless you've done it, you don't really know what it's going to be all about. How is that a real factor as you get set to have Indians, on our own spaceship in space?
So, gravity is very, very important. I mean, you saw Shuks being picked up and brought out. It would be sort of interesting, Pallav was asking, the analog mission which we had on the sidelines of that, we also had people with who underwent extended bed rest. That is all. And that is a very good space analog. When the people who were on this extended bed rest, when they got up, they had the same kind of issues. They could not stand. So that is one way that we study all of this, and that is the nub of it. The incredible amount of hard work that is put in by the team who's working behind the scenes is really important.
So Air Vice Marshal, you're a doctor, and the rocketry is being done by ISRO. If you can give us an overall picture, what is your perspective, and how soon can we have the first Indian in space on an Indian rocket from Sriharikota?
A lot of it would depend on the G1 mission, and with the success of the G1 mission, it will depend on the G2 and G3 missions, because the systems that we are making, they are very difficult to make. I mean, how do I give you an example? The printer that was installed on the ISS took 20 years to be certified. The fire extinguisher that is being used on the ISS took almost 10 years to be certified.
And we have to make it at home.
And we have to make such, we counted, and off the back of an envelope calculation, some 3,000 such things.
No, but I think
Including getting the toothpaste right,
Yes.
and the soaps right, and the towels right.
Yes.
And that is not easy, if you
It's
ask me.
not easy. I mean, since you said towel, so let's say we are looking at a piece of cloth which is to be used in space. The first thing is that if it has got a synthetic content, it will release some gases which will not go anywhere because the capsule is closed, and while the air is circulated and the carbon dioxide is removed, but the, let's say, hydrocarbons that are released by a synthetic towel will not go away anywhere. The lint which flies will choke your filters, so you'll find it difficult. If God forbid the astronaut develops an allergy to it, then your entire mission will be doomed, and you'll have to bring it back to Earth,
Right, yeah.
and so on. So each thing that goes into space is just so difficult to make.
You know, what I find interesting, and again it's something worth talking about, is that there are literally tens of thousands of components which need to be engineered, manufactured, meet stringent requirements, and this is all being done over here. There is no space ecosystem per se outside ISRO which exists. A lot of these components are being developed by ISRO, perhaps outside as well, but these are new components. And it has to do with health, it has to do with basic engineering, with rocketry, and this is not stuff we are buying. In most cases, you know, and it's not even necessarily available to our specifications. How is that part of the larger Gaganyaan challenge?
Two ways to look at it. When Yuri Gagarin was sent, everything was developed like this in Russia 80 years ago. It can be done.
Yeah.
The space ecosystem is coming up. If you've been, I mean, I'm sure you are.
The private sector,
more
yeah,
learned than
yeah.
I am. The private sector is coming up. It is matching up. Agnikul is 3D printing rockets and firing them.
Yeah.
So a lot of development is taking place simultaneously, and that is the beauty of human spaceflight. Just because you aspire to do human spaceflight, you will find that your entire industrial complex comes up. So that is a note that I would like to strike with our viewers.
Our last couple of questions, yeah.
Any message you have for Group Captain Shukla as the person who was instrumental in choosing him, and now that he has completed his mission? I spoke to him, you have spoken to him. One message which you can send to the countrymen about Shukla?
Shuks, we are very proud of you.
Fantastic.
That sums it all.
Well, I would say not just India is proud of him. India is also looking forward to getting a Viksit Bharat thanks to his contribution.
Absolutely.
Shuks or the other astronauts as well have been evaluated by the Roscosmos. They have been evaluated by NASA, and nobody's ever.
Also the Europeans.
Also the Europeans, and nobody's ever felt a need to sort of change anything. So I think we are good.
And a final question, as we're out of time, that team spirit among the group, the cohort, how important is that? How does it build up? Are they essentially one family? Do they have disagreements with each other sometimes? Is there a sense of humor, or
I mean,
that's important, isn't it?
Every family has disagreements. I mean, husband
they
and
are
wife.
a family in a
yes,
sense
they are a
of-
family. They are a family.
Describe them for us as a team.
Very difficult to describe a bunch of incredibly talented, incredibly intelligent, and incredibly hard-working, learned people.
You're running out of adjectives.
Well, we'd like to thank you very much for being with us
Thank you
today.
for
Well,
having
there
me.
you have it.
Thanks a
The
lot.
Air Vice Marshal telling us a little bit about the challenges ahead, the incredible achievement of Group Captain Shubhanshu Shukla, the path ahead, Indian technologies, the importance of health in space, and the qualities of our wonderful astronauts and what they bring for a mission which is clearly India's giant cosmic leap.